YouTube, what is going on? I wanted to real quick give you an updated bow void gauntlet build guide. I know I'm a little late to the scene. I started over on fresh and I geared up my character. I deleted my main. I feel like the only way forward is just to play fresh, but I finally got my guy super decked out. We're only missing one piece of gear, so I want to give you guys an updated build guide. It's going to be pretty much 90% the same as the last build guide, running all the same perks, same aesthetic, same weapon tree. Couple things changed, so I'm going to show that real lickety split right here. So if you guys look at my helmet, I'm gonna go ahead and take away my webcam for a second so you guys can actually see everything, right? This is what we're running: shirking heals, void harnessing, and health. This is right out of the PvP track. I upgraded it to put void harnessing on. The reason we're running void harnessing is because we are running life taker. This obviously scales with dex thanks to the special effect on the artifact, and it also has that negative energy effect, which lets us put that disintegrate dot on both weapons. So it really just buffs my bow up. This is an all ranged, all bow build. The void gauntlet there for support. As you guys can see on my bow as well, I'm running abyssal, augmented abyssal, so it converts 50% of my damage to void. I have the bow from the raid, which is disdain infliction, abyssal attunement, and keely jagged. If you can't do the raid, you can still run the syncratic bow. That's still a solid backup. Just put abyssal attunement on that as well. Same thing as my last build guide. For life taker, we put that slowing tether on. And again, we're doing the void harnessing and the void rune glass because half of my bow damage with this gem is void damage, and all of my void gauntlet is void damage. So everything we're doing with the void gauntlet is void damage. This does scale with dex. This is the only void gauntlet in the game that scales with dex. That's why we have it. That's why we're running it. It does pretty solid support damage, but it's really, really good at supporting and buffing up your bow damage. Then for the chest piece, we have an absolutely maxed out chest piece that we crafted from running the raid. Every time you run the raid, you get a piece of Gorgonite that you can use to craft a full 725 3-bis piece. You don't need any crafting skill, but it is really expensive and lengthy to get those mats needed for this. But I put shirking heals on this, void harnessing on this, void rune glass on this, penetrating rapid shot on it for some juicy damage to my penetrating rapid. On the gloves from the PvP track, shirking heals, I put putrefying scream for the anti-heal with the screen effect on void gauntlet and health. For the legs, we're going shirking heals, shirking energy, health. This is your hardy pants that you can get from the dungeon and end. You could try to grind them out from the dungeon, or you go to the kiln and craft them if you have enough materia. I crafted them. Medium gear. If you guys look here, I'm running medium gloves and medium legs. You don't have to go medium chest. If you want to, you can. You could also go 2 other pieces of medium inside instead of the medium chest and still be in light and still be maxed out at the armor rating. So I went with a light chest, medium gloves, medium pants. You can go medium chest, rest light, or you can go medium gloves, medium helmet, light chest, whatever you're feeling. You just want to make sure you're maxing out that potential of the light gear. For my artifact, I am running tumbler boots still with shirking heals added to it when I upgraded it. And as you guys can see, rune glass of void damage on everything, 2% more elemental void damage. And then we're also running Opale on everything this season. We did change this for the build guide. Opale on everything. So we have a good bit of elemental damage resist. I don't build against ranged players. I don't build against melee players, right? I'm a full range player. I feel like there's no point to build against melee players. If you're getting hit by melee players as a full range player, that's a simple, you need to play better situation. I'm not going to build any defense against melee. I know Hatchet and melee is looking really good right now, but still very, 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 very capable of beating melee players with this build. I don't run any melee defense. I'm running all Ellie. Every bow is either running Boltcaster or they're splitting their damage too. So Ellie's kind of the go-to, and then you're still protected from fire damage and blunderbuss and all those other elemental split weapons. Showcase the bow already. For my jewelry, this is the one piece of gear I'm missing. I still need the Ankh amulet from the PvP track. Whenever I get that, I get that. But this is pretty solid still for now. Health, divine, and alchemist reprieve. For my ring, this thing's maxed out. Void damage, hardy, healing breeze. I crafted this again using one of my upgrade materials from the raid. This is insane because healing breeze is now proccing off of shirking heals, and it's just more health back, especially with divine. Divine is really important to run in this build, and I don't mind having health on some of these pieces of gear because all of your shirking heals scales off of health. I'm running 200 con, 400 dex. I'll show you the attribute spread in a minute. And then my earring is 700 with healthy toast, healing heart, and regenerating. I'm going healing heart instead of the cooldown for potions because the cooldown for potions got nerfed. It's only a 2-second reduction now, so healing heart seems better with the heart rune. I don't have my heart rune yet, but when I get it, I'm going to run the spit ability, and I'm going to run the anti-heal on that. So I have an AoE spit that does an anti-heal, and I also have my putrefying scream for an anti-heal. For my stats, Some people might want to run different stats. This is what I'm running. I go 200 con and I put the rest into dex. A lot of you guys are going to say 25 strength or 50 strength's better, or you should go 50 int for these nodes. I disagree. I understand 10% heavy attack damage is nice if this is still working with the bow. I'm not sure if this is even working with the bow anymore, but every 50 points you put in dex past your soft cap of 350 is 3.8% more bow damage. I'd rather just put 80 points past the threshold in the dex, and then I'm getting roughly 7 to 8% more bow damage on everything. Not just light attacks, not just heavy attacks, not just if they have a dot on them. I'm getting 7% more bow damage on everything I do with the bow. Light attacks, heavy attacks, pen shot, evade shot, triple rappies. This is the split I'm running. You guys can play with it if you don't like it, but that's what I'm going to do in PvP. For PvE, if you guys are running this build in PvE, I would split it. I'd go 50 con here. I would take the dex pretty far to max, but then I'd also, in this situation, since we are going for all damage and we're not worried about con since it's not PvP, in this situation, I would go 50 here. I would go 25 int here. I would go 25 focus here for the cooldowns on my abilities, and then I would spam points to the dex to get to that 500 threshold. Boom, just like that. That's what I would take for PvE. For PvP, though, you want 200 con and then the rest dex. For PvE, I'll run these other nodes for more damage. The 5% light attack, the 10% heavy attack. This shit works with the bow. This works with the bow, and then the ability cooldown is nice for the bow, too. For my weapon mastery, this is what I use in PvP. All single target damage, no damage over time abilities, land your shot, good burst damage, good single target. You don't have to run this. This is just what I like to run. The dot AoE abilities are really good, but this is what I'm taking. All these passives, you guys can read them yourself. Still taking the mastery on the left tree. This is the same as my last build. And then Void Gauntlet, I'm taking Orb of Decay, Tether, and the Scream. For PvE, I'm still taking these same weapons into PvE, but I would change up the build. I wouldn't need Evade Shot in PvE, right? There's a lot of nodes that I don't need for PvE that I would change. If I was going PvE... All right, so for PvE, this is the split I would take, especially for the raid. I still go all single target damage with the bow, but the build looks obviously a little different than PvP. We don't need Evade Shot. There's some nodes we don't need. Like if we're doing more damage on somebody 100% life, that's kind of pointless. But I still go full single target damage for the raid. And for any PvE content I do, I take the right side tree here for more headshot damage. I'm not spamming my rolls. I'm saving my stamina in PvE. I'm just standing there pumping away. And for the Void Gauntlet, I don't need the root. And I don't need the Orb of Decay. It's better to have Oblivion, drop it on yourself, more empowerment, and then Tether for more empowerment for yourself. And then Rupture is really going to help the team out. When you have Rupture up, anybody in your party that's hitting the target with Rupture is getting health back. That's the build I would use for PvE along with the split for PvE. One thing I didn't cover, though, that's really important in this build that I cover in the first build guide is this effect with the Void Gauntlet. Using Harvest Essence for 0.75 seconds removes 1 debuff, and then you also take the point that reduces the health drain of Harvest Essence. This is what I run in PvP for sure, is because anytime somebody lands a damage over time ability on you, as long as you rip out the Void Gauntlet, you can cleanse that one ability. So I went over the gear, I went over the stats, I went over the skill trees for both PvP and PvE. I want you guys to remember, New World's a great game. The PvP comment's fantastic. There's no one best build, right? Whatever works best for you is going to be your best option. There's tons of options out there, tons of builds, tons of armor perks, tons of weapons that work good together. There's no one end-all, be-all best build. You should definitely find something you like and stick with it is my biggest advice for you. Find something you enjoy playing and get nasty with it. The skill cap of this game is very high, even with target lock in the game. This build is my favorite again because it's all bow, it's all single target, but it is a little tricky to play, right? You don't have that evasiveness with the rapier to help you out. You just have a bow and you have your Void Gauntlet to support the bow damage. So it's really just landing those bow shots, using the Void Gauntlet to buff up your bow. You have a root to get out and you have a evade shot to get on PvP, but outside of that, you don't have a ton of movements. You really got to be on point with the rolls and landing your shots and doing damage with this build. But I love this build because it's no melee weapons and all bow damage. If you like this video, please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, catch me live. We're live on Twitch and YouTube pretty much every single night playing this game, man. PvP action, some PvE, some raiding. That's all I got. I'll catch you guys on the next one.